What's up guys, welcome back again. So today is day 17 of the 100 Days of Cloud Azure series. So here we complete day 16 yesterday. So today is day 17. The lab title is we have to create a public Azure block story container. Yesterday we create a private Azure block story container. So yeah, so if you get ready, let's go. I will try to click the start button right now. So I want to explain about the public storage container a bit with this diagram here. So on the internet, there are different kinds of users, anonymous users or authenticated user, trustworthy user. Yeah, many sort of users are on the internet. So they can try to send their GET request to the public storage container. For example, we are using the Microsoft Azure Cloud services, right? So on the Microsoft Azure Cloud, we can create different kind of storage account. In the storage account, we can create a public storage container or private storage container. But for this lab, we use the public storage container, right? So within the public storage container, you can save the files and data and images and like different sort of files. So for example, here is the website index.html file is saved. So the anonymous users can try to access this website index.html file because this is public. So they don't even need to know credentials. They can try to access without authentication. So that's what we can call public storage container. So they can trying to access publicly, and also here images they can try to access, and here also public data report.csv file. Yeah, that's it. But for some sensitive data, they cannot directly access to the data. So this is still protected by container level privacy. All right. So for example, here is the anonymous users can send a request, and also anonymous user 3 can send a request without authentication. They don't need authentication, but anonymous user won't. Also either can send the request without authentication, but he cannot delete, he cannot put, he cannot post any new data to this public storage container here. So for doing those things, at least he should have the authentication. So it is required authentication to do these things. Post or put or delete something else on this public storage container. So this is the firewall part optional. This is the firewall optional. Can restrict IP as if needed. So here you can see that on the public level access, so it will allow anonymous user to read the data without modification, without changing anything as new. So and they can also access. So no authentication required, but they cannot write, they cannot delete without authentication. Remember this. This is a kind of like the culture of the public storage container here. You can save that. So public storage container access is like they are allowed to anybody on the internet to read the data and to list the data, but they cannot write it, they cannot delete it. Remember that. So this is about the public storage a public storage container of the Azure. So alright, so I think you can understand what I explained here. Not the same as the private storage container. So private storage container is so restricted, but public storage container is not too much restrictions for getting to access the inner content, inner data of the storage account. All right, so let's go here. So for this lab, you can use this portal URL and you can use this username and password, but I would like to use this Azure Client Terminal. We use comments. So here, as per of, before we do this, I will copy all of the text. So as part of the data migration process, the neutrality step of 10 is actively creating several storage containers on Azure. maybe private container, maybe public container. We don't know, right? So they plan to utilize public block containers to store the relevant data. Given the ongoing migration of other infrastructure to Azure, it is logical to consolidate data storage within the Azure environment as well. So it is logical, right? To consolidate. So consolidate means to make it physically stronger or more solid. So data storage within the Azure environment as well. So the task is our task we had to create a new story account. This is the first step. So the name is here AceFusion ST31401. So this is story account name, and then we had to create a public block container. So the name is AceFusion blocks 18420. So with a story account within a story account. So we had to make sure anonymous users can read and access for the containers and blocks is enabled. All right. So let me find that how to create. So I will copy this, the whole test. Yeah. Here you can go here Microsoft Loan Docker and you can find that documentation for setting anonymous user can read and access. You can carefully reading right here. Here for creating storage account you can use this here. Here you see a line and you can copy the command line. And here also here's story container and story container show permission and then set permission and show permission. Alright, we skip this part. Let me check that. Alright, so here we had to create a story account first. This is the first step. Yeah, we already done easy login. We don't need to think for this step. Alright. So and then we do the create a public block container and then we do configuration. Alright. So I think the first thing we should know the resource group name. So we do resource group is that group list to know the resource group name. So the resource group name is this. Alright. Alright, so the second thing is here we have to create a storage account. So to create a storage account with this specific name, we must explicitly set allow block public access here. So we wait to permit anonymous access at the account level. So replace the resource group name and location with specific values. Example is US. So we will run this command, right? So here I will explain again. So here is this Azure and this is storage account. We will create new account. So account name is here. We already set up with the correct value and then we will give the resource group name. So resource group name is we will get from here. Yeah, this is the resource group name. So we copy correctly and then paste right there. So location. So location is you can add East US region like this, East US region, but for this lab we don't need to add the location. This is not mentioned clearly, so we can skip that. So we can skip that part. So I will remove this location. So location we don't need to add. SKU standard LRS, this also we don't need to add actually. So but we need to add this part. This part is very important because we're gonna have to make the public anonymous access has to be able, right? So we're gonna make it true here. Allow the block is a container, block container public access has to be true, right? So we run this command and there we right here. Yeah, so now it's starting to running. Alright, so we're gonna have to wait a moment, and then we will check it that this state we have to create a public block container. So block container name is this execution dash block dash 18420 to enable anonymous read access for the for both the container and e blocks. We have to make the public access container parameter here. Public access container, we have to add this parameter. So I will use this command. This time we will create a container, story container. The first time we create a storage account. So execution 31401, that's a story account name. That's correct. And this is resource group name is account name. So this is a container name. This is account name. So we will make it the public access has allowed to access to the container, right? Here to enable anonymous reaccess for the both container and e blocks. So we have to add this line parameter as a parameter. So and then authentication move, we can remove this. So I will run this command. So I will run this. So we created successfully. Here the result value is true. But for sure we can configure some how to verify if a public Azure public story container Azure public story container has been created from the CentOS terminal. I really like that. So we will run this command. So a container name is this execution block 18420. I will put there, and the account name is storage account name is this one, right? Story account name execution st 31401. So I will run this command to verify the status. So here you will see that delete is null. So encryption scope here, prevent encryption scope overrides a false. Alright, so here is like name is execution block, that's correct. So properties, we can skip this, and duration state. So state is available and state is unlock. Alright, so public access is container, that's correct. Yeah, we have to we must be able to access to the container, right? So and the version is null. Yeah, we successfully created. So let me check it out. So for this lab either, if you like to use Portal, you can go there and you can create by your own way. So yeah, that's it. We successfully complete the challenge. So if I can do it, you can also do it. Is it right? So alright, so I will start here, say yes, no issue faced. Alright, thanks for watching. I will see you in the next coming video.